Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to another Montgomery County Economic Development and Revitalization Town Hall. Before I move forward, I want to introduce our interpreter, Miriam. Miriam will translate simultaneously in Spanish. And for those of you who like the translation, look at the globe that says interpretation at the bottom of your screen, and she'll update you. Miriam? So again, welcome. We're happy to be here today. We will have, we're blessed to have another update from Dr. Earl Stoddard on the status of COVID. And then to our guests today will be Kelly Groff and Cory Van Horn from Visit Montgomery, one of the hidden jewels in Montgomery County in terms of resources for small businesses and for all of our residents. They'll be updating us on what's happened in the hospitality industry during the last year, what some exciting programs that are ready to come that can benefit all of us. They also will talk a little bit at the very end about a new grant program. Before we move forward with the COVID update, I want to remind you that there is a grant currently available and open to small businesses who are hiring new employees. This is through Workforce Montgomery, workforce.montgomery.com. You can learn more information about the grant and the last town hall held 2 weeks ago. But just as a reminder, if you're a small business and you're ready to hire new employees and you're in Montgomery County, you may be able to have up to 12 weeks of their wages paid for through this program. Check out the Workforce Montgomery site or email the small business portal if you have any questions. And without further ado, I'd like to introduce and reintroduce to many of you Dr. Earl Stoddard, who will update us on COVID-19. And Dr. Stoddard, congratulations. Since you last spoke to this group on these town halls, I understand you've been confirmed as Assistant Chief Administrative Officer for Montgomery County. Can you tell us first a little bit about your responsibilities in this new role?
Thank you, Judy. Thank you for the welcome. Thank you, everyone, for coming back. Thank you for having me. Sure, and I'm happy to talk a little bit about my new role before I talk a little bit more about COVID. So, as many of you know, I started as the Director of Emergency Management and Homeland Security at the beginning of this pandemic, and with my recent promotion, my roles will change to be more inclusive of both public safety and health and human services. Those are the two key areas within my portfolio. Obviously, given the work that we've done during COVID and my involvement in that, obviously it's sort of a natural transition to go from a public safety agency like emergency management. It broadens my portfolio to include not just traditional emergency response, but also reimagining public safety. So a lot of the law enforcement changes and improvements that we're making in Montgomery County will be underneath my portfolio, as will things like Vision Zero, which is our effort to eliminate pedestrian and traffic-related deaths over the next decade or so, a little more than a decade. In addition, I'll obviously continue to work in the COVID space, and so that will still remain part of my portfolio, which is why I'm still here. But I'm looking forward to working with the business community on a whole host of endeavors around keeping our community safe and making sure that we can keep people in our community safe and healthy, whether it's through this pandemic or other health-related issues that we'll face in the future. So that's sort of the breadth of my portfolio.
That's quite a portfolio. Thank you and all your colleagues for all your hard work on COVID. And we'll look forward to the update. But before you start, I want to remind everybody, if you have questions for Dr. Stoddard or any of our guests today, please feel free to use the chat and we'll monitor that as we move ahead. Thanks, Earl.
Thank you. So obviously the COVID conditions are improving. I think I feel comfortable saying that. There was a little bit of a debate yesterday about whether we were officially in moderate transmission. We'll actually confirm that when we see the CDC numbers later today. What we suspect is happening is that the CDC numbers are simply lagged with the county numbers, and that will mean that we are, in fact, in day 2 of moderate transmission. If that's confirmed, we'll know that when the CDC posts their numbers today. But regardless of what the breakpoint of the numbers tells us, the trend is pretty clear, which is that the number of cases continues to go down slowly but surely. Obviously that's a positive thing. And as that number does reach 7 days of moderate transmission, the Board of Health Regulation does lift the mandated, requirement for, our residents to wear face coverings. Once we reach 7 days, you will see a notice come from the county health officer, the acting health officer, Dr. Bridgers, to the county council, and we'll announce that, once we get there, we'll announce that we've reached the 7 days required by law, and we'll announce the time and date the next day of whenever that occurs. The next day we'll announce that, effective this time, face covering mandate is lifted. And obviously that will allow businesses to operate sans a requirement. Now, obviously, we will also continue to recommend that in densely packed indoor spaces, people continue to use their best judgment, and where appropriate, we recommend they do wear face coverings if they're going to be in those environments. But there are plenty of environments that are indoors where there aren't a lot of people, where once the face covering mandate is lifted, people will be able to make that choice for themselves. We are not investigating any additional, we've always been talking about in the background, but we're not considering moving forward any additional requirements around a vaccine passport at this time. We're continuing to investigate, observing how that's been implemented in other places. I know San Francisco just stood up theirs. I know we have a number of questions from our restaurant association that we're utilizing this time to work through those, because obviously what we talked about before was simply a proposal based on what New York has done. And we will obviously update as we have the answers to some of those questions. But again, we're not proposing something to the Board of Health at this point, and we're going to continue just to investigate. And frankly, we're hoping that if the numbers stay low, we won't have to engage in any additional, whether it's a vaccine passport or a shift in our overall requirements. The other really good piece of news is, and you just saw it on the screen, is that our vaccination rate continues to be amongst the best in the country. There was a story on the Baltimore Sun front page the other day, which obviously points to the fact that CDC is reporting that we have 99.99% of our population with at least one dose for those who are eligible. So the eligible population is 12 and over at this point. And obviously we've achieved a very, very high level of getting at least one dose in the residents. That is what I think is largely driving our lower case rate, but frankly, it is what makes Montgomery County one of the safest places in the country at this point to be. We've achieved that through a lot of hard work and a lot of sacrifice, and we very much appreciate the business's role in allowing that to happen. We know also that there's a lot of news coming over the last even 48 hours with regard to booster shots becoming available for certain populations for both the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, Moderna vaccine, and that is added to the previous approval that has come for the Pfizer vaccine. I think we'll receive the official notification that those boosters can move forward, and we'll provide additional information publicly about who's eligible for those boosters. But largely it is the older adult population, those who are immunocompromised, and those in certain work-related occupations like frontline first responders, healthcare, et cetera, who are eligible for the Pfizer and Moderna vaccine. And for anyone who got a previous Johnson & Johnson vaccine dose, they will also be eligible for a second dose of Johnson & Johnson. The other thing that the FDA did approve yesterday is the matching of vaccines. So if you've previously gotten the first or two doses of the Pfizer vaccine and you want to get a dose of Moderna this time around to broaden your immune exposure and immune protection, you will be eligible to do that once the FDA or once the CDC finally gives the final approval and launches forward that program, which again, I expect to happen today. The other big piece that we're talking a lot about is the vaccination for 5 through 11-year-olds. There is a review today with Pfizer before the FDA. I presume that by the end of the day, the FDA will have approved the 5 through 11 vaccination, and there is time already with the CDC advisory group next week where they will review that data. Presuming all goes well, we're expecting that by the end of the first week of November, we will begin the population 5 to 11 vaccination program. We estimate there are approximately 105, so it's between about 98 and 110,000 by population of 5 to 11-year-olds who will become eligible for vaccination. We have requested the maximum amount of vaccine through the program from the state of Maryland. That is 20,000 doses is our maximum allowed request. That is for the county. And we will distribute that to our young residents as quickly as possible. I will also note that many of the pediatrician practices in Montgomery County have also requested doses and will be able to do vaccinations directly, as have a few other venues, health centers, nonprofits in Montgomery County as well. So there will be multiple methods to receive the vaccine for 5 to 11-year-olds, and we will be presenting our strategy to do that to the county council on Tuesday. So more information coming on that. I think that's all I wanted to cover this afternoon, I guess, but I'm happy to take questions.
Please share any questions you have in the chat. What a wealth of information, and frankly, a lot of good news. So things seem to be progressing. We know that's because of your hard work and that of our HHS team, our community partners, and the local providers. And we thank everybody who's helped us get to where we are. I don't know of any other jurisdiction who could have that 99.9% headline on the front of a major paper. So congratulations and thank you. And it looks, we'll wait another minute here. It looks as if you were so clear that there aren't many questions. You mentioned the 5 to 11-year-old plan being presented to council next week. Once they make their decisions and next steps, where do you think the average Montgomery County resident could find the best information about vaccinating his or her child?
Yeah, so what I would expect that you're going to see is that, number one, if you have a pediatrician, you should touch base with them to see whether they've ordered vaccine. They should know that today. They actually were eligible to order it on Monday. And so if they've ordered it, they'll know that they've ordered it. They won't know necessarily what they're going to receive yet, but you'll at least know if your pediatrician is going to potentially have vaccine for you to go through that system. Obviously, that would be probably the most convenient for most people given their familiarity with their pediatrician. There will be a number of public-facing clinics. They will be distributed throughout the county. Many of them will be hosted in schools, but obviously with there being 134 elementary schools and 40 middle schools that have 11-year-olds certainly in the 6th grade, as well as 50 plus elementary level private non-public schools, we can't necessarily offer 200 plus clinics in each week in all of those locations. So we will largely be doing a hub and spoke model where we look for public and private or public and non-public schools that are large enough to host, geographically distributed, but more regionally focused clinics, particularly after school hours and on weekends, so as to not disrupt education. So we will be doing a number of those. You'll be able to sign up for appointments essentially at those opportunities. We will obviously also add in our equity framework. So we'll be disproportionately focusing on those who have been most impacted by COVID-19, as well as children that we are aware of through MCPS who are immunocompromised. So we'll obviously be prioritizing those as well, because the impacts for them for COVID are obviously more substantial. So we expect that we'll be able to make good progress. Our goal is to distribute all 20,000 doses each week that we receive from the state, and therefore make the case to the state that we should receive more, and then we'll aim to distribute whatever more we can get. So that's sort of how you can expect this will present, but I think you'll see a lot more information and a lot more locations where you can go to get more information once we present to the county council on Tuesday.
Well, it's clear you've been putting a lot of work into the planning and distribution, so thank you for that. We did have a question. Will the pediatric dose 5 to 11 be in 1 or 2 parts, 1 or 2 doses?
So it will be a two dose regimen for Pfizer, just like the adult variant. It will be a lower dosage for each of those 2 consecutive inoculations. It's approximately 1/3 of the adult dose for the 5 to 11-year-old population. So they're getting a little bit less of the I was going to say antigen, which many of you might, the vaccine target in the vaccine, you get about 1/3 of that, but it will be a 2-dose scheme for 5 to 11-year-olds as well.
And for parent planning purposes, do you expect that the second dose would be a month out after the first dose, similar to the adult?
Pfizer, I believe they've asked for a 4-week in between, and that's exactly what this will be. So 28 days after your first dose, you'll be scheduled for your second dose.
Great. Let's see if there are any other questions. I don't see any here. Thank you, Dr. Stoddard, for your time. We appreciate everything you and your team and all of our partners at the county are doing. Thank you. Have a good weekend.
Absolutely. Thank you very much.
So next we have the opportunity to hear from two leaders at Visit Montgomery. Kelly Groff, who's president and CEO of the organization, and Cory Van Horn, director of marketing. Kelly has some slides that'll show up in a minute, but Kelly, while our staff is getting those online, can you tell us a little bit about the mission of Visit Montgomery? Are you part of government? Are you separate? What is Visit Montgomery?
So Visit Montgomery is a 501c6 nonprofit organization that is under contract with Montgomery County as the official destination marketing organization. Each jurisdiction in the state of Maryland recognizes one organization to be the official destination marketing organization, which is important because that's how we get grants through the Department of Commerce, being the DMO for Montgomery County. We've been around 38 years. And we are funded through allocations from the hotel tax. When you stay in a hotel in Montgomery County, you pay a 7% lodging tax. So that's how we get our funding.
So destination marketing, meaning that you're telling the rest of the world how wonderful a place Montgomery County is to visit, and even local residents, the experiences that we have to take advantage of here, right? Is that what that means? Or
Absolutely. Pre-pandemic, most of our work was to get visitors from outside the area to visit Montgomery County, spend all their money and go home. And that's still our mission, but we definitely transitioned during the pandemic to do more of a regional reach as we progress through the pandemic, and did more kind of local marketing. So we're excited though, as things start to get better, to be able to continue to do our regional marketing, internal marketing, but also go back to finding visitors from outside the area to come see our wonderful county.
so regional marketing, telling our friends and neighbors in Prince George's and Baltimore and Fairfax County, hey, spend a weekend or a day or an evening or a brunch in Montgomery County, right?
Absolutely, that's the goal.
Okay, so before we talk about your programs, I know you have a lot of cool things going forward. You have been a huge resource to our county's hospitality industry. You and your team have done a lot during the pandemic. Can you talk a little bit about what you've done as Visit Montgomery for your constituent businesses in the county?
We definitely served as a resource sounding board. We helped a lot of small businesses find answers to questions that they had. I helped facilitate a hospitality, culture, recreation, entertainment, recovery work group where we did a lot of listening sessions and really kind of stood together and walked through this pandemic, trying to find answers and just be there for each other as we progress through, because as you know, the hospitality tourism industry was hit very hard by the pandemic, as a lot of other industries. So being a resource and listening and helping businesses find what answers to questions was invaluable. Our website has been a great resource, visitmontgomery.com. And we also have a calendar of events where organizations can upload their events to the calendar so that the general public in Montgomery County can see what's happening at any given time and enjoy some of the events that are happening. Cory's going to walk through some slides. If we can go to the next slide, that's our mission. If you keep going through the slides, I'll show you kind of the progression also of how the hotel industry, which was significantly impacted, is progressing. You can see 2019 is the blue line, 2020 is the orange line, and you can see the gray line. We are starting to see things go up. We saw a little bit of a dip in the summer. A lot of that is because there's not business travel coming back. Business travel is the last piece, that and international travel. But business travel is the last piece that we've really started, have not seen recover. Business transient, meetings and conferences. The leisure travel is strong again. Group tour travel is strong, but we really need to get the business transient and meetings and conferences back into our market. And then we'll be in a much better place. Next slide.
And that's a national trend because people are doing what we're doing, teleworking, and not booking hotel rooms. So I think you've done a great job considering the environment.
Absolutely. We're excited to see progress. This is the website. Next slide. and our events calendar. Take a snapshot of this off your iPhones if you want. If not, you can email marketing@visitmontgomery.com with instructions on how to upload events. Next slide. And then I'll let Cory talk about the MoCo Eats initiative we started to help the restaurant industry during the pandemic.
Thank you, Kelly, and thank you, Judy. So, what's been interesting with the pandemic and as we've been continued on is we kept hearing from small businesses that they needed ways to get the word out. And so the most immediate need that we had found during the pandemic was getting the word out when restaurants had to start closing as a way to communicate to residents and the broader area what was open, what was closed, who was offering outdoor dining, things like that. So we had launched MoCo Eats, and it's really grown into a food lover's guide. Really a one-stop shop for people who want to discover options along the way. And if we move on to the next slide, what happened with that was we also then launched a MoCo Eats week, which we branded as a not your typical restaurant week. So it was an opportunity for restaurants to participate for free. And we had created a digital savings pass where consumers could download this pass and check in into restaurants to see what types of deals that they were offering. We put some paid advertising to it, as you can see, and then got some wonderful social media interaction as well. And so it was a huge success. It had occurred over in the spring, and it was so successful that we've decided that we'll launch a second version of it in the spring of 2022. So we'll be excited to see where that takes us.
More than 2 million impressions. I mean, that's impressive.
Yeah, this MoCo Eats Week is definitely near and dear to my heart. Even for me, it gave me a chance to try new restaurants in the county. And that was the feedback that we got from the consumers was it was a way for them to discover new places to eat, and even in their own backyard, restaurants that they didn't know existed. So it certainly helped the small business to help gain additional visibility. And we were able to see the impact of it almost immediately.
So how would a business, I know I'm going to stop you on the slide for a minute, but I'm a restaurant in East County, or I have a cafe in Up County. Do I have to pay to join this? How do I get on?
So MoCo Eats, to be listed onto the restaurant directory, is free for all businesses. We want to make sure that we show a diverse mix of restaurants that are out there and to make it as equitable as possible. And so all you have to do is go to mocoeats.com and click on restaurant directory. And there's an easy submission form that a business can submit their information. And then their listing is populated. We moderate it to make sure that spelling errors and things are all corrected, and then it's activated onto the account. So we've tried to streamline it and make it as easy as possible. And then it's a great way for people to search restaurants in their area.
What a great resource for our local restaurants. Now, do you have any more slides about? I think you do.
Yeah, so I'd love to talk about another program that we launched as a part of the pandemic, and it was a way to help support our craft beverage industry. And we launched it around the time that the pandemic started, and then it continues to evolve and grow over time. And it's called the Tastemakers Trail. And we've implemented various advertising campaigns around this. And ultimately what we wanted to do is to create a unified experience around all of our craft beverage producers. There's about 20 craft beverage spots that are featured onto the trail. You go to tastemakerstrail.com to learn more about it. We've developed a digital savings pass as a part of this program as well. And you can see here, we got really creative with the advertising. We partnered with a company that is able to put messaging on delivery trucks. And those delivery trucks are driving around DC right now and showing off all the wonderful craft beverage producers that we have through the Tastemakers Trail all throughout DC. It gets about 65,000 impressions a day, and it's been running for the last few months. And if you go to the next slide, in addition to the web component, we also created a brochure, a print brochure that lists all these different trail stops as well. And those are distributed to visitor centers throughout Maryland. People who inquire about asking for information receive it. And then if there's any small businesses that would like to have these at their businesses, please let us know at marketing@visitmontgomery.com, and we can have some shipped to you for free, so that way they can be distributed in your business as well.
That's great.
I will also add to this that this is growing, which is fabulous. We have more businesses that are opening in this sector, and so you'll see this map grow with additional participants. So we're really excited about the progress in the winery, brewery, distillery industry sector.
So if I'm with a brewery and I don't think I'm on your site, what's the process? How do I get on?
So in this particular case, we've worked directly with the breweries. And so if we've reached out to every single one of them individually, and if there's a coffee producer or a winery that's not listed, they're more than welcome to reach out to marketing@visitmontgomery.com. And then we work with them to find out, even if they're on the verge of opening or they plan to open in the near future, they can reach out to us and let us know about that information, and we'll include it in the next round of brochures.
Great. Where would a farm to table or a Butler's Orchard or a place like that, do you have a place where they are getting visibility right now?
Certainly. So Butler's Orchard offers cider, so we've included them in the Tastemakers Trail. We were very intentional about this program in terms of we didn't want it to only focus on one beverage producer. We wanted it to be a mix of alcoholic and non-alcoholic options. And so the whole reason why we called it Tastemakers is because there's a lot of amazing experiences that each of these businesses offer. And so we wanted people to look up from the glass, if you will, and to not only enjoy a fine beverage, but also appreciate and enjoy the experiences that these businesses provide their customers. So it's also about celebrating the people behind the small businesses.
I love it. This is great. What else are you up to?
So Judy, I'd love to tell you about our holiday campaign. So we can move on to the next slide. So we are gearing up to launch our holiday campaign. This will run from November into mid-January. And so the ultimate goal, as Kelly had mentioned before, Visit Montgomery's mission is to help promote visitation and experiences. And so that's what I do with our various campaigns. For the holiday campaign, we are promoting experiences. It's going to be called Make Memories Together. And residents are able to, we'll see these advertisements appear, through print and digital, broadcast, things like that. But also the Capital Region, Baltimore and Northern Virginia will see these as well. So that way we can celebrate all of the things that Montgomery County has to offer during the holiday season. There are a couple ways in which the small business community can participate in this campaign. We are creating what we're calling a holiday hub on our landing page to launch around the first week of November. And that will pull in events from our events calendar that are holiday specific. And so those events, people can post on our events calendar. And then when they're tagged as holidays, it'll be a part of the holiday hub, if you will. So it's a great way to feature various events. It can be as small, the events can be as small as you may have a small performance on a Friday to a bazaar, if you will, or a craft fair, things like that. And so that's a way in which we want to make sure that people are aware of what's out there and things to do.
Great. And I heard you're starting something new because you're not doing enough great work. What's coming on the horizon?
Yes, that's thank you so much, Judy. It's what we learned through developing MoCo-Eats and through the Tastemakers Trail is that there's an opportunity to provide even more visibility and promotional opportunities for our small business communities. And so particularly as it relates to retail, but also being able to tie it all together into a unified experience. So if you move to the next slide. We are gearing up to launch a new program, a new initiative called Discover MoCo. And what we're doing is creating a centralized directory program that will be housed on visitmontgomery.com. It'll be free and available for businesses to post their business directories and listings. There'll be an opportunity for people to post their deals and events, but also it'll be very mobile friendly and it'll be multilingual as well. And the idea here is that we've heard over and over and over again from our consumers and our research that they want a way to discover, if you will, things to do in the area. And for me, I've lived in this area for 5 years and I'm still discovering new things. And we hear that time and again. So this directory will continue to grow and expand. It'll have different categories such as retail, restaurants, historic sites, hotels, things like that. And people will be able to learn about what's in their areas in the palm of their hand. And if you move on to the next slide. So it'll launch in sometime in the next month or so. We're still testing things and making sure that all the software and systems are in place before we launch it officially. But our goal is just to make it as easy as possible for our businesses to get themselves added. It'll be an online submission process where the business will upload their contact information, images, a business description, website links, and photos. We will then moderate that to make sure that it's proofread and spelling errors and things like that are all corrected, and then it'll get activated to the website. Those businesses that have e-commerce capabilities will also be highlighted as well and will provide an opportunity for direct links to their e-commerce pages to help facilitate the online side of introducing people to the county and giving another opportunity for businesses to sell online. And so, Judy, I know that you'll share a grant program that's coming down the way, but this is also part of that program as well. And we're excited to launch it soon.
Well, thank you. And maybe Ella, if you could keep this slide up for a minute, but because I'll talk about the grant program that's coming soon that's directly related to Discover MoCo. So to summarize, Discover MoCo takes all the great things you've been doing with the MoCo Eats and Tastemaker Trails types of programs in terms of leveraging your expertise at profiling and highlighting businesses and spreading the word in many languages across the county and beyond for these groups. It takes that expertise and lets small businesses who are retail businesses and working on other types of particularly bricks and mortar stores that aren't necessarily restaurants or hotels, you're enabling them to get listed on a Discover MoCo directory for free. And we are fortunate to have, through the Maryland Department of Commerce, a grant program that will be announced during the next month that will enable small businesses, particularly those who've not yet received COVID relief and may or may not have an online presence. Maybe they have a Facebook page or website, or maybe they've been so busy keeping their business alive, they haven't had time or resources to develop one. There will be a grant program offered through the Montgomery County Department of Finance in partnership with Visit Montgomery that'll provide probably between $3,000 to $10,000 per business to help you with your online sales and telework. So help you get your computer system maximized so that when you're in this Discover MoCo directory, your new customers can find you. The reason the grant amount is question mark is we're going to announce this and it'll be open the application period for a couple weeks. We have a set amount of funds and depending on how many people apply, we will distribute them on a pro rata basis. So that will be called the Discover MoCo grant program. It's a partnership between Visit Montgomery County and Montgomery County government, funded through the Maryland Department of Commerce. Stay tuned here. I hope that in the next town hall in 2 weeks, we'll be able to give you specific information in terms of where and when to apply. But thank you, Cory and Kelly, for working with us on this, because it will enable us not only to give more small businesses across the county funding, but it will enable small businesses to get visibility for the products and services they offer. And we'll be using your platform, which is multilingual, and it will enhance the access for both business owners and customers to these retail outlets. So thank you very much. Let's see if we have any questions for you. If I'm a small business, a restaurant, a hotel, or you mentioned a coffee shop, and I want to get on your Visit Montgomery County site. You said that website was marketing@visitmontgomery.com. Is that correct? Or can't hear you. I'm sorry.
Sorry. So if you would like to be listed on MoCo-Eats.com, just go to MoCo-Eats and then click on restaurant directory, and there's a submission form button there. So any restaurant-based business, whether it's a coffee shop or a full-service restaurant or even caterers, things like that, all you have to do is fill out that form. We then review it and then activate it.
So if you're a caterer or a small business or a lunch cafe and you're wondering whether this is worth it, this is a free resource for you. And if you were listening a few minutes ago, 2 million impressions on one site just a couple months ago. I think it's a great resource. And if you are a small baby boutique shop and something that a visitor or a resident of Montgomery County want to find and hasn't been able to do that easily, that's where someone would use Discover MoCo. Is that correct?
That is correct. So when we launch Discover MoCo officially, there'll be a similar sign-up form process, just like what MoCo-Eats had. It'll actually all get merged together so that it's all easy to use for any small business. So that way they'll be able to follow a very simple form and process, and then it's easy for us to activate along the way. And the advantage of this is that when we're able to launch this and you're able to be featured onto Discover MoCo, you will get all the visibility that we have to offer. You know, as you mentioned, you know, our ad campaigns are over 2 million impressions when we run them. The website itself gets over 1 million page views. We have 70,000 followers on our social media. So all of that is a lot of people interested in things to do here. And that's where small businesses can take advantage of it for free.
Well, I think it's awesome. It's not only for free, but you'll have a number of you, not everyone, but a number of you will have the opportunity to get some funding to support that work through this Discover MoCo grants program that'll be announced in the next couple of weeks. So I do have a question, and I don't know if you or Kelly would feel comfortable picking just one based on your work, but the question is, what is the top attraction, in your opinion, for a visitor to see in Montgomery County?
We know what it's the C&O Canal, isn't it, Cory?
It is. The C&O Canal National Historical Park runs along the Potomac River. The entire park is 184.5 miles. So the fact that Montgomery County has a national park in their backyard is phenomenal. And then it generates about 5 million visitors, the entire park does. Wow. And a majority of those visitors are visiting Montgomery County.
I didn't even know you were tracking that. So what do you see as the biggest challenge and the biggest opportunity, Kelly, for you and your team as we march forward in the next couple months?
The biggest challenge is just to get business travel restarted, and then behind that, we hope to see international travel begin. International travel is really big for this region because of the nation's capital, and we are, right on the border. And it was great to hear Mexico and Canadian borders were reopened, and we're bringing those visitors back. but we have a long way to go. So that'll be the last piece of the recovery, but you'll see a big difference in the local economy when you see more business travel coming. And I would also just put a plug in to all the residents to be safe, but support your local businesses as much as you can. Anything, big box, little box, you know, businesses in the ag reserve, and also invite your family. Invite your family to enjoy our community, because we're certainly very proud of what we offer here. We have a very diverse community. We are diverse in cultures, but we are also diverse in what we offer in experiences.
I thought you were going to have to pick one attraction that you prefer, but you were able to do the numbers and avoid that because there's so many good things to see. Do you ever work with there's a lot of talk in economic development, small business chambers about regional cooperation. Do you ever work collectively to bid on a particular project or athletic event? Is there co-opetition, collaboration?
There's a lot of collaboration when it comes to large events. One example will be the bid for the World Cup. As you know, in 2026, Washington, DC and Baltimore are both bidding to bring that event. Either way, either destination that could potentially bring that event to this region we're all gonna benefit from that. So, and then Cory has done some collaboration with surrounding jurisdictions in Maryland on C&O Canal promotion. So we're always looking for those opportunities.
Well, I think your hard work benefits both our local businesses and our residents. So thank you very much. Is there anything else that we haven't talked about? Holidays are coming too soon. We're already seeing lots of holiday stuff in our stores. So that will be next. We'll help spread the word on that. Anything else you want to share?
So Judy, I'd love to echo what Kelly said in terms of, celebrating, small businesses and visiting small businesses. We have 1 million population in Montgomery County. And if you're traveling from one part of the county to the other part of the county, you can be a tourist in your own backyard, really explore and discover what Montgomery County has to offer, treat it as your own personal weekend getaway excursions. It truly is a choose your own adventure type county, and we just love to see people engaging with our small businesses, and we want to continue to foster and grow that.
Well, thank you very much. I love that. A tourist in our own backyard, and the guide that you need for your tour in your own backyard is none other than Visit Montgomery, led by Kelly and Cory, visitmontgomery.com. Thank you both for taking the time to be here today and for all the hard work you've done during COVID and will continue to do. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Judy, for having us.
Thank you, Judy.
You're welcome. The next town hall will be in 2 weeks, and we'll know for certain who will be your host and who will be the guest during the next week. Stay tuned. If you're a member of a chamber or a community organization, a resident, business, or government leader, please spread the word about Visit Montgomery and their resources. They're a great organization here in our backyard. Thank you again.